Hey guys, so I'm standing here next to the River Seine. You can kind of see it down there. I'm standing on the island, which is District 1 in Paris. And right behind me there, that's the palace where the kings lived, and inside there is Sainte-Chapelle. Did I say that right? I'm looking at my French guide over here, Rebecca à la Torre. She's my French guide. But these buildings back here are very characteristic of Paris. You can kind of see those, and that's the Haussmann influence. So a really interesting story back pretty much from medieval times up until the early 1800s. The central part of Paris was just a big mess. A lot of disease, tight living quarters. The streets were anywhere from a meter wide up to the widest 15 meters, and a lot of problems with just poverty and disease. And I think they said that about every 3 square meters had a person. That's how dense it was. And so there was the revolution, and they overthrew the king, and they had the first free and open election in France. And Louis Napoleon Bonaparte was elected as president of France, and in part elected because of his name, but also because he was the nephew of the famous Napoleon Bonaparte, but also because he promised to clean up Paris. And Napoleon Bonaparte, the original emperor, he started work on it but didn't get very far, and his nephew vowed to finish that work. So behind us, you can see here on this bridge, there's an N there. This was one of the projects he did with an architect, George Eugene Haussmann. And Haussmann came in 1853 and started work on renovating the city. And fun political fact here, so Napoleon III, prior to that, he was president of France, and he only got 1 term under the Constitution of France. And so when his term was up and he hadn't gotten as far on the renovations of the city as he wanted, they staged a military coup and overthrew the government, and he declared himself Emperor Napoleon III. When he did that, he had more powers. He put George Eugene Haussmann in control of renovating Paris, and he came through with a massive sledgehammer and just destroyed entire neighborhoods, put in massively wide boulevards up to 24, 30 meters wide. This bridge is one of the new bridges that he constructed. Behind me, this was one of the older, narrower bridges. But he also came up with this unified block style of architecture, where looking at city blocks as the building block of the city as opposed to individual buildings, and very tightly controlled the facades of the buildings, but then the building owners were free to do whatever they wanted inside. And originally the shops were on the ground floor, and then you had housing above that, and the upper roof portions were supposed to be for storage. But because of the high price of real estate, these upper roof areas, they actually ended up becoming housing for the poor. And so a real mixed use, walkable communities, but also allowing air and light and circulation through the city center. Met with huge criticism, as you can imagine, kind of the epitome of urban planning, right? And just destroying entire neighborhoods, relocating people. Haussmann was eventually ousted in 1870 due to a lot of political pressure. Napoleon III died a couple years after that, but his master plan and a lot of the things that he started didn't finish until 1924. So he had almost a century of influence on Paris, and what we see today is really a huge, is in large part due to what Haussmann did. So influential architect, city planner, and his legacy lives on.